And now, stand and cheer for your BBL legend, Mike Spaid.
Hello, welcome to another edition of Talking Basketball Podcasts, dedicated to none other than Mike Spaid.
Yeah, a very sad day in British basketball, European basketball.
Absolutely.
And yeah, it's just a sad day.
Yeah.
The legend known as Mike Spaid had his funeral today, and he, sadly passed away. I think he had a short battle with an illness, but what we wanted to do was just come and talk about just some of the impact he had in the UK basketball scene. And I wrote some notes today. He was born in Ipswich, and he moved to Washington State when he was 6 years old. He was one of those players that he came back to the UK when he was 26.
Yeah.
But he was one of those players that had that dual dual citizenship,
The double ticket.
so he had the double ticket. So he was playing under.
So he did a business degree or something, didn't he? And then stayed around in Portsmouth.
I believe so. Yeah. So he, Mike Spaid, 6'11",
Yeah, he's a monster, wasn't he?
shoe size 16.
I just remember seeing him being little, thinking, I don't like. That's big, like not as in that's not normal, but you go like, is that what like an adult, a real adult is like size wise? That's ridiculous. Like these are adults. I don't. That's something else. It's massive. 6'11".
Yeah. He was just a nice guy, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was just had that American raspy accent. Hey guys, how you doing? You want swirly? Let's go. Come on, like, you know what I mean? And he is one of those great guys who we saw when he was involved with the Portsmouth FC basketball club.
Mm-hmm.
And I put him in with players like Alan Cunningham, Colin Irish,
Yep.
Dan Lloyd, Steve Nelson, all those players that Carl Tatum.
Yeah.
And I put him in with those players who created real change, especially on the South Coast,
Massive
where
legacy.
these guys went Portsmouth, Solent, Worthing.
Yeah.
And I don't think people talk about it enough that these guys inspired generations of basketball fans, players, and people involved.
Every team that is like I want to say like a local league team along this South Coast, whether it's Solent side, whether it's Worthing side, everything in between, that is all 100%. And right past Brighton,
some of those players will be involved. Yeah,
but all of those teams through that 80s, 90s boom, all of those teams, if they're still around or were started up or anything like that, Fury started up in the 90s, all of those have legacy directly to these players, because they're the ones who were just on the South Coast of the UK. Other than there was nothing else. That was the team. They were the players, and it, like you say, it doesn't matter what team that they played for in a way. They were all just like,
yeah. And I don't talk about this enough, and I think I should. And it's one of the reasons people say, "Oh, why are you doing a podcast and stuff like that?" And we always kind of say it's great stories. But if I went a little bit deeper into that, what I feel is really sad is you have legends, BBL legends like Mike Spaid, Carl Tatum, who have passed away now, and those stories that they would tell are lost.
Yeah.
And it's one of the big motivators for me is giving what we call legends, people who've been playing the game for 1 season or 10 seasons, whatever it is. Like, you play professional sport, we're looking up to you, yeah? And it's like, I want their story and their legacies to carry on and be part of the podcast. So,
Yeah.
you know, people aren't going to be around forever.
Nope.
But the audio will be.
I mean, we said it with Mix as well, didn't we? Like, as much as it was nice talking about him, it would have been 10 million times funnier, as well as nicer, just having him there.
Yeah, imagine having
sharing those stories.
2 hours or an hour of Mick and 2 hours of Mick and just having him go
I mean,
in.
we'd have used the bleep button a lot. But,
Yeah.
But
Or maybe had like a special version that we didn't have on.
yeah, didn't have it on, and you know, it like you say, capturing that inspiration, because they're people who inspired us and they're people that we looked up to.
And I don't know if they realise that. I think they've forgotten about it, some of them. They look at it and go,
it's very easy to sort
that
of
was
forget.
30, 40 years ago.
I mean, you know, credit to when we were speaking to Colin and the great Colin Irish, of course. We had I know, anyone who's listened to this, you know, we like a chat. But we were chatting to him for about 4.5 hours because
maybe even longer than that.
Yeah, because
I think
we were
3
talking.
hours went out and it was maybe 5 hours.
Yeah, we were just talking before, and then we had the episode, and then we were just chatting afterwards. And he was so gracious to give us that time.
Mm.
And in some ways, you know, you sit there and think that was 30 years ago. We still remember you at those camps. We still remember you in that way. That's like, that hasn't changed. You're formative figures for us. And that is, capturing that is,
and it's
priceless.
It's how much of an impact basketball has had on those guys as well. So, for example, I don't think I'm crossing the line here. I can't see why this would be sensitive. But, for example, at Mick Burns' funeral, there was a basketball on his coffin.
Yep.
For Mike Spaid, they had a pair of his basketball shoes.
Wow.
And it just looked really nice.
It's respect.
Highlights the impact the sport has had on him. And I got a couple of notes and some quotes from Mike Spaid as well, which I'll read out in a bit. But it's
the amount of injuries he had as a player and surgeries that he went through.
Okay, right. Let me tell you this story. So, part of one of his email addresses, I don't know if this is one of his old ones, was where is it? Mikey Nine Toes.
Oh yeah.
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 And this is his story. He said, this is Mike Spaid. I think he said this in I think he said this in 2000 or something.
Wow. Okay.
So he said, when I was playing, my little toe got broken. He was 49 when he said this, and he'd retired from basketball 10 years ago. But he said, and it was overlapping and it wouldn't go down and was wearing the skin off, wearing out my shoes. The doctor said there were two things he could do: operate on it twice or get rid of it. He thought about it and he said, I thought that I didn't use it. It was just a dead toe. That was 5 or 6 years ago. It was just another operation, one of 14 overall, which begs the question, why was I playing? So, but that's why he's called Mikey Nine Toes. Off. But talking about basketball, he did say it's an addiction. Doctors told me after a couple of operations I should play another sport or take it easy. But once it's in the system, it's hard to get it out.
Yep.
It's a great way to make a living, and I got to see the world. And he did get to see the world. Like, talking about his career, just in the UK, Mike Spaid played for Hemel, Crystal Palace, Leicester, Solent, Worthing, and obviously the Portsmouth FC basketball club. And but he also represented Great Britain.
Yep. And
I could
Olympics,
be wrong.
didn't he?
Yeah, so he went to the 1984, the 1988 Olympics for Great Britain.
84 was Los Angeles, I think. Might have been.
I'm not sure. but he also went to a Commonwealth Games, and he actually
so good.
He was 2 games away from playing 100 games for a country. Yeah, he played 98 games. Now, I'm just hesitating when I say Great Britain, because back in those days, from all the pictures we see, it says England on the kit. But I imagine it'll be Great Britain going off to the Olympics. So
yeah,
I'm just saying that hesitantly. But internationally, it was 98 games. But also, like, all the European stuff he played. European fixtures. Yep. Some of them are legendary. And like, you go down to Worthing with the Worthing Bears. There's that one game. Anyone who's listening, go and check out the Colin Irish episode, because we talk about a Worthing Bears game in particular. I think it was against the Kingston. What are they called? Kingston. I think maybe it's just called Kingston.
I didn't think
Mike
that.
Spaid,
I thought it was just Kingston.
He hit a huge three in like the last 30 seconds, and
they were all a bit shocked.
Because you can remember, I said to Colin Irish, like, "What did you do when Mike was like lining up for that shot?" And he was like, "Mike could hit a free. That was all right." But he hit that big 3, and then someone hit a half court.
Yeah, it was
buzzer beater.
Yeah, it was buzzer beater, wasn't it?
But that is still considered one of the greatest ever games that happened in Worthing. People still talk about that game 30 years on.
Wow.
Yeah, you know what? It was just, it's just a sad day, isn't it?
Yep.
You know,
it's a reminder of our own mortality.
And again, just going back to my point, that's why
it'd have been lovely to have had him on the show, no question.
I did ask. I should have. I remember being in Dave Lloyd, because he used to go to Dave Lloyd's, and in the jacuzzi, I've brought this up a few times, and I remember sitting there going, "Oh my God, that's Mike Spaid sitting there." It's like, should I say something? And then it was just that whole, he's a human being, I'm going to leave him alone. But he might have actually liked someone recognize him and going, "You do realise you're a legend," and there's like loads of people. The legends who were at the funeral today, like, I'm not going to go into names or stuff like that, but it's one of those things where you'd be like, you want to be respectful, and you're looking in the corner, you're going, "Oh my God," you know, as there's legends here in this room. I don't even know if people would know who they were sat next to and stuff like that, but and
that in itself is sad. Yeah, for sure. But
So
that's why we do it, like you say, because we want to capture these stories and remember these players and remember these people who kept that part of the game going in the UK as well, because it was all through that time period, the 80s, 90s, even up to the early 2000s. There was no real basketball access outside unless we made it ourselves.
Yeah.
So these were the heroes. These were the our equivalents of the Birds, the Jordans, the Magic Johnsons, the Olajuwons. These guys were all of our equivalents from,
And also,
those periods.
There's no information about the guys online. But like, if you look up, let's say, a basketball player from 2000s professionally, you're going to get information on them.
Yeah.
But like, you tried to look up Mike Spaid. So I know, my brother was talking to Mike Spaid in the jacuzzi.
Yep.
Unbeknown to me, he went in the jacuzzi, saw Mike Spaid there and went, "Holy crap. Hey, Mike Spaid, I used to watch you play. I used to give you water on the bench." And he was like, "Yeah, oh, that's cool." And they were talking about basketball.
Yeah.
And during that conversation, that's where Mike turned around and said, "Oh, I was drafted in the NBA." And it's like, wow. And I don't know if it was Washington or Seattle. I know when he moved he was born in Ipswich, but he moved to Washington State when he was like 6.
And it was Seattle College or something that he went to, university or something, wasn't it? Yeah.
But he was said to Angel, "I was drafted," but...
Are you telling me he could have been a Sonic?
Mark, we know no information. And I spent ages looking for this.
Yeah.
And there's just not the information out there because of the way technology was then. And no one's going, I've got all that in my head. Let's update websites.
Those records of paper. A lot of them are record papers, aren't they? And in the memory.
In there, and that's why I just go back to the point. It'll be great to just get those stories and be like, oh wow.
Yeah, we'd love. We want to capture those. But and and not just players of past, but also players of starting out and in future as well, because it is. I might say sounds silly, but the older we get, our perspective of things changes. So we want to say remember things in a different way. Sometimes there's a romanticism. Sometimes you just go, oh, that was just this. And you think, what? That's a huge deal. But at the time, it would have been a huge deal. But now you've had 20, 30 years. You just go, well, that was just the way life was. But yeah.
When someone brought up about his shoe size was 16, I remember one of the Portsmouth players talking about it, saying when Jason Colgan brought 2 right shoes to an away game.
Yeah.
And then they were like, and Jason kept it really quiet. And I don't think he played that game. And I remember it was Colin Irish or Steve Nelson said, it was Colin Irish. He went, if we knew that, we would have been getting him in.
Oh, yeah.
And at some point, one of them said, if Mike Spaid knew, we would have given him one of Mike Spaid's shoes and he would have had a size 9 on his right and a size 16 on his left.
You
actually, no, I think that's what he did. I think Jason Colgan went to Mike Spaid.
He had 2 left. Didn't he have 2 left shoes that he picked up or something?
But I think he went up to Mike Spaid and went, I've forgotten my shoes. Like, you're an idiot, man. And he went and he borrowed one of his shoes. And he played with a size 16
must have had
and
to
9.
have like 5 pairs of socks on just to try and.
Thank goodness he didn't get called in that game.
Wow.
But again, that's the whole point of what I'm saying with these stories and stuff like that. But he did find another love in sport after basketball, which was golf. And
thank God, I thought you were going to say badminton then.
No, definitely not badminton. But he said, when talking about golf, he said, I'm all show, no go. It's nice to play another sport. I've played sports all my life and I'm not stopping. But then it was, unless maybe he became Mikey 9 Fingers. But
I can't I know golf clubs normally have a certain size. They're standard. A lot of us are around a certain sort of height. But you can get extra lengths on the shafts if you're sort of slightly taller. If you're 6'11", that's a long golf club. Because drivers are super long anyway.
Or do they bend down more? I don't know.
No, because that will affect your. That would affect. I mean, that's what we need. We need to get some bigs on there. I always wondered that when you see people like Charles Barkley and Jordan and stuff. They're 6'6", 6'8", those sort of players, and they're playing, and you think, I mean, you pick up a golf club and use it? You wouldn't be using the same golf club as me. They must have it like almost a foot longer, just from the height.
Yeah.
So if someone's 6'11" playing golf, that's a hell of a long club.
But
golf bat.
I mean, just to finalist, just some of the other things that I just took note, and I was trying to write things down.
Yeah.
That would be interesting for England, Great Britain. He wore number 15. From the pictures, I can see he wore 15. He wore 4 for. It's gonna be, I don't know, Hemel or Crystal Palace or Leicester.
Okay.
It's gonna be one of those. He wore 4 at some point. And I think he wore number 12 when he was at Portsmouth. I think it was 12. But yeah, he was. What I would say about Mike Spaid and all those guys on the South Coast, wherever they went, there was success.
Yep. Yeah, that's
wherever
fair.
they went, there was success. And you know what? Just to finalise, he was a big man. He was well thought of, and he is definitely a BBL legend.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Of the British game. And he's been taken too soon, and thoughts go out to his family and all his friends at the sad time. And
absolutely,
rest in peace, Mike.
Yeah, rest in peace, Mike. Thank you for the awesome memories and inspiration.
That's a good way to end it.
Absolutely.
Let's end it there, Mark, with a thank you.